touch it. And similarly, if we orchestrate our life in such a way that we can find our happiness, our purpose, and our connection deeper within ourselves, then the ever-changing circumstances of this world cannot really touch us. But if our happiness and distress and our searchings and our longings are on this very superficial, shallow level, then at any moment the hawk of fate can create such turbulence in our life. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that true intelligence is when we rejoice within. When we find our happiness, our shelter within. If we find it there, we find such a treasure of joy, of love. Naturally, we become instruments of the compassion of that grace, and we want to share it with the world. Without that experience, birth after birth, we're struggling and striving to find things outside of ourselves to give that experience. If a building has a strong foundation, no storm, no wind can knock it down. But even if you build an incredibly ornate palace on shifting sands, then when the storm comes, everything will crumble. Yoga teaches us how to build every aspect of our life on a powerful foundation that can maintain our integrity, our dignity, our peace, our equanimity, and our compassion, even in the face of the inevitable storms that will come within this world. In California, there are redwood trees, the largest, highest, and some of the oldest trees in the world. These trees have gone through thousands of years, some of them, and endured earthquakes, blizzards, storms, tornadoes. How do they just keep growing and growing? Because the roots of the redwood trees, underground, they reach outward for the roots of other trees. And there, as soon as two trees connect with each other, they wrap around, intertwine, and make a permanent bond. Every tree in the forest, directly or indirectly, is supporting every other tree. And therefore, even through sunny days and stormy days, they just keep growing higher and higher and get stronger and stronger. When I saw this, I was thinking this is what satsang is. Satsang is when people come together, like we are here at this International Yoga Festival, with a divine purpose. Natchita matkata prana bodhyanta parasparam katyantaschamam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. When yogis, when devotees come together, they enlighten and inspire one another and feel great happiness in doing so. That is our strength. There's a beautiful story in the Srimad Bhagavat about a very young boy who was confronted with the most incredibly difficult challenge. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. We could learn through the examples of others and follow in your footsteps. In Badrik Ashram, on the banks of the Saraswati River, Srila Vedavyas was speaking to Narada Muni. And Vedavyas was asking how he attained such an enlightening position. And Narada Muni explained his previous life. He was living in the jungle. His mother was a very simple-hearted, uneducated maidservant. She was a widow, and he was the only child. She would just serve others in the most menial ways. At one time, a group of great sages came to that forest during the Chaturmasya, the rainy season, where they could not travel. And she was serving them. Little things, cleaning, washing, bringing objects. And her little 5-year-old son was helping her. And he became so attached to these sages, who he called the Bhakti Vedantas. In the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev tells his mother that the path of liberation is when the same attachments that we have to the things and the pleasures of this world, society, friendship, and love, when we redirect that same attachment to saintly, enlightened people. They were just so kind to this boy. They were actually equal to everyone, but because he was so receptive, he was receiving their kindness, and he became really, really attached to them. And he loved to serve them. The Bhagavad Purana tells, Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syam Mahatsevaya Vipra Punja Tirtana Sevana. That when we serve Mahats, great people, our taste, our eagerness for transcendental life increases, and we want to hear these spiritual subject matters, Harikatha. One day, he had so much faith in these people, he asked them, could I take the remnants of your food after you finish and leave it on your plate? And they gave us permission. And because he served them and they blessed him so much, he had such faith in that food that just by eating it, he was transformed. And he started to understand everything they were speaking. Such deep wisdom. After some time, they all left. He was left alone with his mother. The 5-year-old child, the mother, all of her affection was for him only. She was widow, she had nothing else, and he had no other protection. Then one night she went out to take care of a cow. A serpent struck her on the leg, and she died. Now this is a turbulent situation in a child's life. 5 years old, you're all alone. Your mother, who has protected you in every way from the time of your birth, is dead. Naturally, he felt his heart separation from his beloved mother. But because he heard transcendental knowledge from these great sages and he received blessings, he was thinking, this is the grace of God. It is an opportunity for me to come closer. And he began to travel. He traveled to the great towns and cities and saw how people were living and what they were doing and why. He was always looking for deeper wisdom, for a deeper connection to God. He went to the villages and to the agricultural fields, and soon he found himself deep into a forest where no humans would ever go. He was thirsty. He drank water from a little pond, and then he sat under a banyan tree and meditated. He did the same exact meditation he learned from those great sages and rishis. He was meditating on the Paramatma within his heart. And by divine grace, Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared within his heart. It was so beautiful. The essence and source of all beauty, of all love. The little boy in his meditation was in ecstasy. He described to Vedavyas in Badrikashram, I was swimming, I was drowning in an ocean of ananda or ecstasy. He was so grateful. Suddenly, that form disappeared. He came out of his meditation. He felt such a deep connection. He wanted to make it again. He did the same exact meditation again and again and again, but nothing happened. He was yearning, he was longing. And then Bhagavan spoke to him from within. He said, my dear child, I appeared before you because of your sincerity. But you cannot see me like that constantly unless you are free of any tinge of material desires or attachments. So now you will not see me again in this lifetime. But because you will always be longing for me, seeking me, and performing your meditation and chanting my names and glory constantly, you will become completely purified, and in your next life, you will be my great, great, great devotee. From that time on, the little boy, for the rest of his life, was meditating upon and chanting the holy names and glories of that personality, Paramatma. And he described to Vedavyas, just like when there is lightning, immediately there's illumination. In the same way, when the time of his death came, death is like lightning. Everything is finished. But at the same time, illumination, light. He was totally enlightened, and he revived his original pure consciousness. And he became Narada Muni, the sage who's constantly playing his veena and chanting the glories of the Lord. He became the guru of Dhruva, Prahlad, many other great Mahajans and personalities. This is how the power of satsang from a disaster, the death of his mother, he was able to see the door open to the highest perfection. Mahatsevam dwaram ahuravamettes tamodwaram yoshita sangi sangam. I'd like to conclude by sharing with you a personal relationship I had. Because these are not just historical narrations. These lessons can be assimilated and experienced by all of us, even today. One of my very dearest friends, his name was Bhakti Swami. He was an African-American boy born in the ghettos of Cleveland around 1950. At a time in America where if you had African-American descent, and your skin was dark, there were no civil rights. If you're born in the ghetto, you will die in the ghetto. 99%. There was so much violence where he grew up. But his mother always taught him spiritual principles. She was a Christian, a very open-hearted, universal Christian. And therefore, he always was looking for God's grace. And he was always positive. He could have become a gangster like all of his friends. But he got a scholarship to Princeton University. He became a civil rights leader. He met Martin Luther King. But he realized that if I really want to make a substantial, deep change, as Gandhi said, I have to change myself, and that needs to be spiritual. He came in contact with the same guru that I have, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who taught a timeless lineage of Bhakti Yoga, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. He became so enthused and empowered. Over the years, he became a mentor for Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali, Alice Coltrane. He wrote about 12 books. He was traveling around the world. He had tens and thousands of people who loved him and followed him. And then he was struck with cancer. When he was in his very last stages, he called me. He was in Pennsylvania in America, and I was about 6 hours away, and he called me and he said, the doctor told me I have 3 more days to live. I really want to see you. So I left whatever I was doing, and I drove with some others. And I was at his bedside. I had a very, very busy summer. I had meetings and I had lectures and I had conferences and so many things. And after staying a day with him, 2 days with him, I went to his bed to say goodbye, to give him my last love and respects. But before I could say anything, he spoke. He said, I want to die in your arms. Stay with me. So I thought he only had a day or two to live. So I canceled everything for a day or two and said, I'm with you as long as you live. He lasted another 8 weeks. But anyways, I was with him. And it was incredible. Because any day we knew he was going to die. And we didn't talk about the news. There was no room for gossip or thinking about other people's faults. If we made a vow between each other, we will only discuss those things which are meant for the ultimate enlightenment and liberation of the soul to bring us closer to Krishna. And for hours every day we spoke. And because our conversation was so much trying to help each other come closer to God, it was the deepest, loving relationship I ever had in my life. I couldn't believe what two humans can do if they're on a spiritual platform together. One day, this is really close to the end of his particular earthly life. The cancer was so intense, it seemed like it was going to the very core of his bones. His whole body was trembling. He was emaciated. He only had one leg. The other was amputated. He was picked up and put on a chair. And like every day, we were discussing scriptures and our personal understandings of these scriptures. But I could see his whole body was trembling. He couldn't hear what I was saying, and he couldn't communicate with me. The pain was just too much. So I held his hand and began to chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he chanted. We chanted together. And suddenly, his smile blossomed like a limitless lotus flower. It practically went to his ears. His eyes were glistening. He began to glow. He was in ecstasy. And he shook his head and squeezed my hand and said, "It doesn't get any better than this." He said, "We are there." I said, "Could you explain?" Because his body was still trembling with the same amount of pain. He said, "I have never felt such happiness, such love, such joy in my life as this moment. Because more than ever before, I am tasting the sweetness of God's names." He said, "I would not change my position for anyone else in the world. I am so grateful. I am so happy. I know where I'm going, and I want to go there." And when he shook his head again, tears of joy were flooding from his eyes. I never saw him cry in pain. He said, "It doesn't get any better than this." Soon after that, a group of people came to see him. And seeing his condition, they were really receptive to everything he was saying. And I saw people who were skeptics, who were atheists, people who had been abused, people who had lost their faith spiritually due to situations. And I saw they were completely mesmerized and transformed by everything he was saying. When they left the room, I said, "Swamiji, I've known you for 35 years. I've never seen you do this to people. I've never seen anyone do this to people." And he smiled. He said, "My life is seva. I gave my life to serve. And because of the condition I'm in, people are more receptive to receive the gift of devotion, of love, of grace than any other time in my life." He said, "This disease is the greatest benediction for me because it's enabling me to serve people in a deeper way than ever before. It is a blessing." Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param dristva nivartate. Bhagavad Gita tells that the mind and the senses, even on a nice, peaceful day, could be very turbulent. What to speak on turbulent times? But we can find real peace, real satisfaction, real love, real compassion within our hearts when we experience our true nature, our true self, when we feel God's eternal love for the soul and we reciprocate by our kindness to all others. In this way we can find the highest equanimity both in the sunny and rainy days. Queen Kunti, she gave an analogy of the Ganga. As the river Ganges continuously flows to the sea without hindrance, my dear Lord Krishna, let my attraction be forever drawn to you, without being diverted to the superficial little things of this world. Then we can be like Mother Ganga, instruments of grace. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful and truly touching, deeply in our hearts and in our spirits. Not just a discourse, because a discourse implies you speak and we listen, but rather more of an opening of the heart, or through the openness of your heart. All of our hearts have opened as well. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful blessing to ask our Pujya Sri Shankaracharya Maharaj to enlighten us with his words of wisdom and inspiration.
उत्पत्ति स्थिति नाश हेतु नमनम् विश्वस्य विश्वात्मकम् विश्वत्राण परायणं श्रुतिसतै सम्प्रोच्मानं प्रभुम् सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तमूर्तिममलं शुद्धात्मकं तं भजे शुद्धात्मकं तं भजे शुद्धात्मकं तं भजे सत्यव्रतं सत्यपरं त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्ये सत्यनेत्रं सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धामम् त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च नमो नमस्तेस्तु सहस्रकृत्वा पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते दिव्यमाल्याम्बरधरं दिव्यगन्धानुलेपनं सर्वाश्चर्यमयं देवमनन्तं विश्वतोमुखं दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य भवेद्युपदोत्थिता यदि भासदर्शी साक्षात् भासस्तस्य महात्मनः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 Most respected His Holiness, the architect of all this occasion, the 16th in series of the International Yoga Festival, Shri Swami Chidanandaji Maharaj, His Holiness Shri Swami Rangnath Maharaj, Her Holiness Sadhvi Bhagavati Ji Maharaj, and all the divine souls present here. You have been hearing to a very beautiful talk from our Swamiji from International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Definitely, from time immemorial, there have been two types of cultures in this world. One is materialistic culture and the other is spiritual culture. As far as material culture is concerned, we all can see the thing that we can see is materialistic, made up of 5 elements. And whatever research the materialistic people have done, it is all within our eyes. Whether it is measuring the deepest ocean or the highest mountain, or even the search of space, search of different planets, that all we can perceive through our eyes, that is materialistic culture. But the search for materialism have never brought peace to our mind. And we all want peace. Even the scientists who are busy in searching the materialism and have been successful in knowing many things. We have Newton in front of us, who had given us the theory of gravitation. We have Archimedes, who gave the theory of weight of the different things to measure them, and so many others. We had James Watt, who gave the communication on rolling because he could know the power of steam, and many others. But none of them could establish peace. And all of us want peace. And therefore comes the spiritual culture. The seekers of spiritual culture, they have not looked towards the outer world, but they've gone deep inside them. And old Swamiji was also saying that he was moved when a bird in search of the food went deep into the waters of Mother Ganga and came out with a fish in its clutches. And the fish was, it was trying to move out of its clutches, but could not. So, the inner thing opened in him and wanted peace inside. So we are all seekers of peace inside. The question is, how can we get it? Lord Krishna in Gita has promised 4 things. In chapter 4th of Bhagavad Gita he says, Paritrāya sadhunam vināṣāya ca duṣkritam dharma samsthapanāthāya sambhavami yuge yuge. In the 9th chapter he says, Anāyaścintayanto mam ye jana paripāsate tesham nityabhiyuktānam yogkṣemam vahamyam. In the 12th chapter he says, Mayye veman ādhatsva may buddhim niveshaya nirshishyasi mayyeva at urdhvam sanshaya. And in the 18th chapter he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma suja. First I will translate these 4 shlokas into English, and then let us go to examine what he exactly says. In the 4th chapter he says, I incarnate from age to age to save the righteous people and to destroy the wickedness in the world, the cruelty in the world. And I come here for the establishment of righteousness. In the 9th chapter he says, all who are devoted to me only, ananyas, no anya, not anyone else, Not anyone else means those who are not devoted to materialism but who are devotees to spiritualism. I take care of them. I am going to take care of them. In the 12th chapter he says, surrender your mind unto me. Merge your intellect into me. Surrender your mind unto me and merge your intellect into me, and you will find abode in me. In the 15th chapter he asks Arjuna, being born as man, it's your duty to seek for that abode from where you will not come back. Tata padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatan nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam pusham papadde yatha pravarti pasta purani. That is, you seek for that abode. Your search should be for that abode from where you will not come. That is, in the words of John Donne, an English poet who was metaphysical poet, he says, what is death? One short sleep past and we wake eternally. So to attain that eternity, to reach that eternity should be the aim of human life. Being born as human, our search should not be only materialistic. I don't deny that we should try to find out materialistic world, but then that is not the aim of human life. The human life is to attain eternity. Tata padam tat parmargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam pusham papadde yatha pravarti pasta purani. Your aim should be to reach that eternity. But then, in the 12th chapter he says that if you surrender your mind unto me, your mind should be surrendered. He doesn't say surrender your body. No. He says surrender your mind and merge your intellect into me. And once you do that, you will find an abode in me. And there is no doubt in it. There is no shansha. Shansha means doubt. There is no doubt. You will definitely find an abode in me. You will be a part and parcel of me, he says. And then in the 18th chapter he says, Sarva dharman parityajya. It's very difficult to understand what is virtuous and what is not virtuous. It's not easy. To understand righteousness is very difficult. Therefore, don't mix up. Don't mix up. Because Bhagavad Gita actually is a wonderful doctrine, a wonderful sermon which has taken place on a battlefield. We have Bible. It is a wonderful sermon again, but on a mount. We have got Quran. Of course, it's also one of the holiest books, but it is a sermon from the tree. Bhagavad Gita is a sermon on the battlefield. A sermon on the battlefield is most enchanting. Why? Because our life itself is a battlefield. Life is a struggle. Shakespeare said, life is not a bed of roses. It is tempest. It is tempest. And one Urdu poet, I'll just give the translation of what he said. He said, one who can drown a boat is a tempest. But one who can fight with the tempest is human. We'll have to fight with the tempest. As Swamiji was just saying, the whole life is tempest. There is struggle in the whole life. When we look at materialistic world, there is so much of jealousy, so much of struggle, not between the individuals only, between the societies, between the nations. The last century that has gone by had seen tremendous progress in the world as far as scientific developments are concerned. Today we have got fastest ways of transportation. We have got fastest ways of communication. We can communicate in any corner of the world within seconds. We have got internet. Of course, I've never used and I'm never on it. But people say there is Facebook, there is WhatsApp and what not. These are all fastest ways. But has man come closer to each other? No. The last century which brought all this tremendous progress as far as science and technology is concerned, it also brought a struggle. We had World War First, and then League of Nations was established to establish peace in the world, but the result was Second World War, and we know the fate of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, all that happened during the Second World War, and after that United Nations came into existence to bring peace, but there have been so many struggles here and there. In my own country also, we had so much of a struggle. We had aggression in 1962 from China, and then we had war with Pakistan. So peace could not be established through political means. The political means can never establish peace in this world. If peace has to be established, it can be established only through spirituality. Spirituality alone can establish peace. I congratulate Swami Chidanandji. He took the initiative in 2000 to organize a summit for the religious leaders of the world in United Nations. He had asked the then Secretary General Kofi Annan to do that conference, and it was a very successful conference. So we have to think in that light. And for the last 16 years, this international yoga festival is organized here at Rishikesh. And I think it is the 10th consecutive year that I have also attended it. People coming from various faiths, from various countries are coming here together. And I'm sure you will become messengers of peace in the world. We are creating messengers of peace. And when you all go back to your own countries, your own faith, you will have a message to give. Because yoga, it is not related with any mythology. It is not related with any sectarian thought. But it is related in transforming yourself, manifesting the perfection that you have. Yesterday also I said, what is yoga? It is manifestation of perfection that you already have in you. We have got different philosophies. We have got different mythologies. We have got different thoughts. They cannot be changed. I cannot ask Swamiji that you become complete Advaitvadi. He did not force me to become Dvaitvadi or Vishishtadvaitvadi. No, I will remain Advaita. So we cannot change. But yoga is a thing which is neither Advaitvad or Dvaitvad or Traitvad. It is neither Vishishtadvaitvad or Shuddhadvaitvad or Dvaitadvaitvad. No, there is no Vad. Vad means ism. Yoga is not related with any kind of isms. It is related with you. It is related with your soul. It is related with your inner self. To know yourself. It is related with to know yourself. And once you know yourself, then you get that bliss. Swamiji was just talking as he chanted the Mahamantra. There is also from the Upanishads. Sage Narad, he goes to Lord Brahma and says that the Iron Age is coming. This age of Kali is the Iron Age. Even in the Greek mythology, there is Diamond Age, Golden Age, Silver Age, and the Iron Age. So this is the Iron Age, which is Kali Yuga. We can describe it as materialistic age also. In this materialistic age, how can one be saved? And then he says, that chant Mahamantra. Of course, this Gaudiya Sampradaya, they bring Krishna first and then Rama. But in Upanishad it is Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It is 32 letters, Mahamantra. He chanted it to his friend. And he was in ecstasy. He was in Anand. He was in bliss. So that bliss is to be attained. And the bliss is nowhere else. The bliss is in our own self. It resides in us. I'll give you an example. A man travels on foot for a very long distance in the month of July in India. And it is too hot those days. As he reached one place, somebody offered him a glass of water. Oh, getting that water, he was filled with joy. And he thought, oh, what a wonderful thing I have got. But when the second glass was given to him, did he get the same amount of joy? No. The third, again lesser. Fourth, again lesser. And a time came when he was saturated with water. And if he took more water, I think the whole that he had taken before would have come out of it. So So was the joy in water? No. The joy was inside him. The thirst in him to get water, when he saw the water, the rays of the bliss from himself went into the water, and what he was taking back was just a reflection of the joy. It was not the joy, it was not the bliss. So bliss is inside you. Bliss is inside you. The yoga aims to manifest that bliss. It is not transformation. It is neither transmigration. It is just to manifest what you have in you. What you have in you. And so that, of course, we have got different kinds of theories. We have got the path of knowledge. We have got the path of devotion. We have got the path of karma. And outwardly they seem to be different. Outwardly they seem to be different. The one who is the follower of path of knowledge will say, my path is the best. The follower of devotion will say, my path is the best. The follower of karmic theory, the theory of action, will say, my path is the best. Outwardly they seem to be different. But ultimately when we experience the bliss that we have got, we say, oh, it was the same. You were also the seeker of that. You were also the seeker of that. You were also the seeker of that. The yoga, through its eightfold path, yam, niyam, asan, pranam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. There you do not have any theory of outside. It is theory of your inward journey. And once you go inside yourself, when you put yourself inward and you experience that joy that you have, that's what he says, sarva dharman parityajya. Forget about the isms. Don't go into the isms. A poet of India who got Nobel Prize for literature, Rabindranath Tagore, he says, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Let the world awake into that freedom where we are not divided by any isms, where the isms will end. There will be no ism. What will be only bliss and bliss and bliss all around. And that bliss you have to experience yourself. So he says, forget about the isms. Sarva dharman parityajya. Mamekam sharanam braja. Just devote to me. And he is everywhere. He is in you. He is in me. He is in her. He is in him. Everywhere he is. He himself has said, Aham Atma Gurakesha Sarva Bhuta Sayastitha Aham Adishya Madhyamcha Bhuta Namanta Evacha. He says, why children, I am the soul. I am Atma. Aham Atma Gurakesha. Gurakesha is the name of Arjuna, one of the names of the Arjuna. He had 12 names, of that Gurakesha is one name. Oh Arjuna,
I am soul. I am the soul. And I am present in everyone. Sarva bhuta sayasthita. I was there before he was born. I shall be there after he dies. And whatever you sing now, even then you are seeing me only. In the Bhagavad he says, Ahame vas me vagre nanyati yasya sat param paschadaham yadetaccha yoga shishye sosmyaham. Arjun, when this universe was not there, this is true, Brahma, the Lord Narayan is saying, when this universe was not there, when Idam was not there, I was there. And when this universe will cease to be, even then I shall be there. Whatever you sing now in our sins. That means once we reach that stage, Lord Jesus had only 12 disciples during his lifetime. And one of them deceived him. Judas deceived Jesus. And today, 1/3 of the world is his follower. Why? The last prayer, when he was on the cross, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Swami Chidanand says 3 beautiful things. He says, forgive, forget, and forward. Forgive, forget, and for what? Forgive all. Forgive them who might have done something wrong to you. Forgive them. Why? Because they are you yourself. They are not anyone else. Only these eyes see them as different, but they are not different. They are not different. Lord says, Natumam sakkise drashtu mani naisa chakshusa divyam dadami te chakshu pashyame yogamahishwaram. Arjun, you cannot perceive me through these eyes, because these eyes are seeing what? This world. And they have got the habit of seeing the world. And once somebody is habitual with something else, then it is very difficult to see something else. Now I give you the divine eyes. And what are the divine eyes? Vimudha nanu pashyanti, pashyanti jnana chakshusa. You cannot perceive me, you cannot see me through these outward eyes. I'll give you the divine eyes through which you can see me. And once we can see you, we see that everybody, all of us are one only. And so, why to establish enmity with anybody? Lord Jesus said, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. They do not know. They are all ignorant. They are all ignorant. Father, therefore, forgive them. That kind of feeling when it comes to us. Swamiji says, forgive. And once we have forgiven, we should forget those incidents which had created enmity in us. And then when we have forgiven, let's move forward. And when we move forward, we will get the inner peace, the inner bliss. And once that bliss is established, we all are one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, our Param Puja Shri Shankaracharya Maharaj. Yes, of course, that bliss, whether we refer to it in Patanjali's term of samadhi as the eighth limb, whether we refer to it as the anand for which we are all searching. Of course, it can only come, as Puja Sri Shankaracharya Ji said so beautifully, through that union, through that yoga, the yoga of ourselves, uniting with ourselves, which then of course manifests in a union with everyone around us. And then all of the isms, as he spoke about, automatically disappear because we've united together as one. We have a few minutes before lunch, and I know that we promised that there would be time for questions and answers. So if anyone has questions, please raise your hand, and we have a cordless mic that is with our beautiful Rishikumar Deepak. So you can just raise your hand and he will get a mic to you.
Pranam Shankaracharya Ji. You said, Krishna Ji said that we should surrender our mind, surrender our intellect, and then we will get him. How do you define the mind and the intellect? And how do we surrender?
Actually, mind and intellect, they are the name of the same Antakaran, our inner self. When the mind, it is doing sankalps and vikalps. Sankalp means determination. And we try to find out an easy way to go out of it, that is vikalp. Like, I'll give you an example. Somebody said, I won't take tea from today. And he left the tea, of course, but he started taking coffee. So substitution. It is between determination and substitution. That is mind. And intellect is to select between that. That is buddhi. Buddhi is intellect. And then there is chit also. The third thing is chit. Chit, it is the storehouse of all our past actions and today's actions. There is chit. And then there is ahankar, that is ego. Sankalp and vikalp, somebody took a determination that I'll go to the yoga festival. Then a vikalp came. Should I go? Shouldn't I go? And there was a struggle between these two. The intellect decided, yes, I'll go. Because in the chit it was there from before. And after we do the task, we perform the task, then comes ego. Oh, I have done it. So this is actually not four things, this is one only. But because of the difference in their exercises, they can be termed as four. Now how to do it? In Bhagavatam also, Sukadevji says, Abhyasena mansa shuddham. Through constant practice, you can control it. In Bhagavad Gita also he says the same thing. अथ चित्तम समाधातुम न शक्नोसि मयि स्थिरम अभ्यास योगेन ततो माम इच्छाप्तुम धनंजय. Now what is abhyas? The question will arise. What is this constant? Now Swamiji was saying, constantly repeat the name of the Lord. That is one way. And if you come to the path of knowledge, constantly concentrate your mind on Tattvamasi. So, whatever your master has given you, constantly be on it. Don't move out of it. If you are repeating the name of the Lord, repeat it. It's not just fun, but I'll give an example of a disciple and a guru. There was a saint in Chhattisgarh. His name was Roti Ram Baba. He used to ask one roti from 5 houses and he used to eat. So he was called Roti Ram Baba. He had a disciple, and even while going to the fields or passing his stool, he used to repeat the name, Ram, 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 Ram. Somebody saw him and reported the matter to his guru, that he does it even in such a poised manner. Then Roti Baba said a very beautiful thing. It's good that he is doing. He said, how? He said, if at that time his pran leaves his body, he will be deprived of saying Ram. So, in whatever condition you are, wherever you are, you should leave the concentration of the mantra that you have got or the thought you have got, concentrate constantly on it. Only then you can establish that state where your mind can be surrendered and your intellect can be immersed. Thank you. I think that's all.
Is there a difference between Krishna consciousness, Christ consciousness, and cosmic consciousness, or are they all just referring to the unity and the oneness of the divine?
I told you there is no difference. Outwardly we might see the difference, but ultimately they are one. There is no difference between Ram or Krishna or any. Outwardly we might see the difference. I don't see any difference between Krishna and Christ also. The path you follow it with deep concentration, deep faith, deep meditation. Then there is no difference. Because the result is one. As the different rivers, their aim is to reach the sea. So, the different paths lead to me only, says the Lord. So when our aim is one, then there is no difference.
Pujya Shankaracharya ji, namaskar.
Once again, let me have a little water.
Yes. May I ask? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes?
Pujya Shankaracharya ji, have you experienced samadhi yourself?
Well, I don't want to beat my own bush. I'm still a student.
What would your definition of samadhi be, if I may ask? Because that is the only class that
I told you just now, through the path of devotion, experiencing bliss in the name of the Lord is your samadhi. For us, concentrating on Tattvamasi is our samadhi. Our Swamiji was just saying that he chanted the Mahamantra for his friend, and his friend experienced that, that highest bliss of his life. Through that, there was samadhi for him, definitely. And for me, when I sit and concentrate on Tattvamasi, it is samadhi. And once we experience that, we always live in that state. That state never changes.
प्रणाम गुरु जी, मैं पूछना चाह रही थी कि ये मोह माया से बाहर कैसे निकला जाए।
मैंने अभी कहा, मय्येव मनादत् स्वयं बुद्धिं निवेशय निवशिष्यसि मय्येव अतूर्ध्वं न संशय। अपना मन भगवान को समर्पित कर दो, बुद्धि का भगवान में निवेश कर दो, फिर जो है मोह और माया रहेगी ही नहीं। वैसे भागवत में कहा गया कि आप जिज्ञासु बन जाओ, बी ए सीकर एंड बी ए ट्रू सीकर, एंड वंस यू बिकम ए ट्रू सीकर देन मोह माया गोज अवे। So I think आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
स्वामी जी एक क्वेश्चन और।
हाँ बोलो।
स्वामी जी दो क्वेश्चंस भागवत गीता पे। द फर्स्ट वन इज एट अ philosophical level. You said, Lord Krishna said, I am the universe. I was there before universe, and I will be there after the universe. So the first question is, why then he created the universe? That's at a broader level.
Why he created the universe?
Yes, number one. Number two, at an individual level, Bhagavad Gita is around a warrior, the Arjun, and then his dilemma to fight the war against his, all the relatives. Now, in our day-to-day life for all of us, at our individual level, how do we find our calling for our life? Because he was also under the dilemma. We can, of course, either we follow the spiritual path or we remain karma yogis. And a lot of us can't be, we want to follow the karma yogi path. In that case, how do we follow or find our calling?
Oh, शाम के शासन में ले लेंगे। स्वामी जी कहते हैं अभी टाइम हो गया। वैसे शॉर्ट में ये है कि जब धर्म अधर्म का संरक्षण करने लगे, मुख्य क्वेश्चन यही था कि मैं भीष्म को कैसे मारूं और द्रोण को कैसे मारूं। कथम भीष्म हम संके द्रोणम च मधुसूदनम, मुख्य क्वेश्चन यही था। तो इसका रिप्लाई ये मतलब ये इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर था। तो बिकॉज इट वॉज ऑन द इंडिविजुअल लेवल, ही सेज इफ द राइटियसनेस becomes the shield for unrighteousness, then do away with the righteousness also. सबसे बड़ी बात यही है, जब धर्म अधर्म का संरक्षण करने लगे तो फिर धर्म कहां रह जाता है। इसलिए विवेक से काम करो। ये तो दुनिया है, दुनिया में अच्छाई भी है बुराई भी है। तुम्हें अपने विवेक का इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए कि हम
आज हम आपके लिए लाए हैं अमेरिकन क्रेप साड़ीज का कॉम्बो। अमेरिकन क्रेप प्रिंटेड साड़ी की कलेक्शन में है एक से बढ़कर एक 7 आकर्षक साड़ियों का सेट जो आपको मिल सकता है बहुत ही किफायती दामों में। ये है क्रेप कलेक्शन की साड़ी नंबर 1 जिसकी सबसे बड़ी खासियत है इसका डिजाइन और कलर कॉम्बिनेशन। व्हाइट कलर का बैकग्राउंड जिस पर बहुत ही खूबसूरत फ्लावर्स को प्रिंट किया गया है और बेहद शानदार डिजाइन के प्रिंट भी दिए गए हैं। इस साड़ी को पहनकर आप फूलों की तरह खिल उठेंगी। इन 7 अमेरिकन क्रेप साड़ीज के कॉम्बो की कीमत है 7,000 रूपए यानी कि 7,000 रुपीज, मगर हम आपको ये दे रहे हैं सिर्फ 2,999 में प्लस शिपिंग चार्जेस 349 रूपए 349 रुपीज। दोस्तों और एक सरप्राइज, इन साड़ीज के कॉम्बो के साथ हम आपको दे रहे हैं एक एप्रन, एक हेयर ड्राइंग